trees, and dining out.
Quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Good evening, everyone. It's time for our special segment of Faribault City Council candidates. We had 5 candidates with us on Wednesday. Paul Wunderlich, Brett Pollard, Jack Cluck, John Rowan, and Katie Howard were with us on Wednesday. And tonight, I have on tape Natalie Halverson, Cameron Gustafson, Lexi Temple, and here in studio, I am graced with the presence of Thelma Estrada and Jacob Reed. And we certainly appreciate they're both stopping by our studios. Thanks for coming, Thelma.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me over, and I'm happy and glad to be here tonight with you.
Why did you decide to run?
Why did I decide to run for city council? I wanted to be the voice of this community, to make a change, to start making some changes, and also bring the city council to be more transparent with the community.
Have you been active in city affairs?
I've not necessarily here in the city of Faribault. Previously, I was very active in the city of Northfield. 2 years ago, I ran for city council for the city of Northfield. I was part of this Northfield Library Board, and then I went into the CELCO to represent the Northfield Library Board. And I've done a lot of volunteering as well during the courses of the 10 years that I lived in the state of Minnesota. Once I moved 2 years ago to the city of Faribault, I have not interacted with volunteering for any boards yet.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. You like Faribault better than you did Northfield?
I like Faribault, believe it or not. Not because I'm running for city council, but it's a bigger city. And even though Northfield is, it has its good and bad. But right now I do like Faribault in the sense that, it's bigger. There's a Walmart. I don't have to drive to get to a Walmart. It's all here. There's Aldi's. It's really nice.
Jacob Reed, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, please. Why did you decide to run?
Yeah. Hey, Gordy. I think like myself, along with a lot of other people, you kind of just start to think that maybe our elected officials aren't always, listening to the voices around you, right? Sometimes it gets difficult to think or to just complain. You can just complain about things. You can show up to city council and talk to them. And then you can start to think, maybe the reason it's not changing is because we're not part of it. I do want to bring that out to be a wider net. I do think that we do need to listen more, but I also know there's the complexities behind city government that might put some limitations on that sometimes. But I do think we're at a time, not just in Faribault, but kind of all over the state and country right now, where people are starting to say, I really don't feel like I'm being listened to. So not only is that why I'm jumping in, but I'm actively encouraging pretty much every younger person I see to say, hey, if you're going to complain, just be part of it. Start to make the change yourself. And I want to be part of that. And if I can do it in a way that helps our city thrive, that's what I want to do.
Sounds like you both are talking about changes. So what would you like to see change, Jacob?
Yeah, I think we kind of continuously see, right, that due to the limitations of not just the amount of time that city council takes, but also the life you have to be able to be in city council, right? It frankly doesn't pay much. And you are giving a sacrifice of yourself to your local government to say, I'm going to run for this position and be in the local government. But that also puts a limitation on how much time you can actually provide to doing things like research and provide behind looking into what's behind a bid for a local construction project for the town, right? So I think what I'd like to see changing is a more active communication from the government to the people about what they want. That can come through different things like polling measures directly. We keep hearing about the advancements of technology, of things like AI. Everyone has access to social media, or at least a large majority of people do. I think there's ways where we can do some more public outreach to get people to say a more direct way of saying, I want this or not, without necessarily having to go to the polls and vote for everything. At least give your insight a little bit more directly, because it's hard to show up to city council for everybody at 6 p.m. every other Tuesday when they're trying to spend time with their family, trying to eat dinner, trying to work, it becomes difficult. So it makes them feel not heard. And I feel like we have ways that we can get them heard a little bit better.
Thelma, what would you like to see changed?
The change that I would like to see is getting the community more involved and be heard and brought their opinions and their suggestions to the city council table and assist on their voices, on their opinions on what they're requesting to be changed or looked at, and be very transparent with the community on the decisions that we have to make, and make it accessible to them so they can be present or know, using technology too, as far as so they can hear. And I know right now you can read the minutes in the website and whatnot, but also be accessible for the community to reach out to every community city member to voice their concerns if they can't do it within the time frame that we have the city council meetings.
Yeah, and I believe they do have their council meetings on YouTube too.
Yeah.
That you can
Yeah.
watch later if you're
Yeah.
not able to attend or able to watch
Yeah.
live. We're going to go to Natalie Halverson, an interview I did. Well, I can't remember exactly if it was yesterday or today, but we're going to go to her. We're going to visit more with Jacob and with Thelma, and then we're going to talk to Lexi, and that'll be followed by Cameron, and then we'll talk more with our guests in studio today. Again, the 5 other candidates, recording of that is up on our website under the AM Minnesota tab at kdhlradio.com. If you want to listen to that, please do so. I plan on having this recording of this particular program up on the website, hopefully before the end of the night tonight, so you have the whole weekend. If you don't get a chance to listen to the programs live, you get a chance at your leisure to tune in before you head to the voting booth on Tuesday, and we encourage you all to get out and vote. It's so important, and I dare say our local elections, city council, county commissioners, that sort of thing, more important really than even the state and the national scene, in my humble opinion. Let's hear what Natalie Halverson has to say. Our next guest this evening, running for Faribault City Council, is Natalie Halverson. Thanks for joining us, Natalie.
Yep, thanks for having me, Gordy. Pleasure to be with you today.
The obvious first question, why did you decide to run?
Well, that's always a good question. I've lived in Faribault for 27 years now and have spent most of that time working to make a difference in Faribault and improve our quality of life here. Through my education, I've worked in public health and healthcare and supporting many community projects. I've developed quite a deep understanding and commitment to Faribault, and I think I bring experience. I have a lot of partnerships and know how to bring resources and people together to develop practical solutions for our community. I'm also running because I believe the decisions our city council makes has an impact on our community's health. So I want to bring a community well-being lens to our city council, and I have experience managing public budgets, reporting on outcomes, and community engagement. So I think I can add real value in these areas as well.
So there's no one burning issue that prompted you to do this?
Nope, not for me. Faribault's not a one-issue town. I've been involved, like I said, for a long time now, and there's been many different issues come before our community, and there will be in the future. So no one issue for me driving me to run at this time.
What are your thoughts on data centers?
On data centers, well, that is a big issue, isn't it? So I guess I would say I personally don't support having a data center in Faribault, but at the same time, the city council has a responsibility, and our commission, our planning commission, they have a responsibility to set clear standards since the land has already been purchased and rezoned for it. I attended the Planning Commission's work session earlier this week, and they were talking about next steps in establishing data center standards. They're going to be working with the Environmental Commission, which I think is great. It seemed like the city didn't really have any sort of a plan for engaging the community in developing standards, and community engagement's a strategic priority for the city. So I actually wrote a letter to city leaders recommending they utilize a formal, transparent community engagement framework. So residents can have a meaningful chance to weigh in on the development of data center standards, kind of similar to what they're doing right now with the 7th Street reconstruction project. So again, I think community engagement's an area where I have expertise, so I would bring that lens to how the city makes decisions and consistently recommend that residents be given an opportunity to provide input, especially on big issues like this data center.
The community center is
yes,
bursting at the seams. I mean, it is filled, and the pool has outlived its life, actually. So they do need to do something about the community center. Council was thinking about constructing something brand new. It ended up being a heftier price tag than they wanted to go. Then they decided, well, why don't we just keep what we have and make it bigger, expand upon it, renovate it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm in favor of that. When they were talking about building a new community center out on the north side of town, I was not in favor of that because I mentioned this at the candidate forum last month, that I believe our community center, our library in Buckham West, the campus itself as a whole provides really a vital anchor for our downtown business district. And I view that as a central hub for our community. So I support making some smart investments in these assets because they do improve our overall quality of life here. I think the spaces, they are low cost to use. They're accessible for our entire community. They're where people of all ages and backgrounds and abilities can come together for learning, recreation, fitness, social connection, and they're really key assets for a thriving community, and I think we all want Faribault to thrive.
Are you satisfied with our police and fire services?
Yes, I'm very satisfied. I think they do really important work. I loved seeing our fire and police personnel out at National Night Out events earlier this week. They did a great job getting out to those neighborhood events. I saw them downtown at the community center. I saw them at Our Savior's Lutheran Church. They were engaging with kids and families and showing them the fire trucks and letting kids get up close and touch the equipment. And, that type of outreach that they do helps build trust. It helps build trust between our public safety personnel and our city and our youth and the broader community, which is really important when they're responding to emergencies in the community. And they take pride in their work, and they represent our city really well in the community. So I think we should be very proud of them.
National Night Out, typically, since it started, I think we've had between 13, 16 parties, somewhere in that general neighborhood. We just can't seem to grow. You have any ideas on how that could be grown?
Well, my understanding from talking to the city staff that were coming out to those events, I asked Mayor Spooner how many events there were, and he said they were 8 or 9. And then I also talked to somebody at Rotary, and they said they had an event for their neighborhood, but they didn't register it as a National Night Out event. They just hosted it for their neighbors. So I think there might be some things informally that are happening within neighborhoods that we just don't know about, and that's okay. I think, anytime neighbors come together for whatever reason, that's a good thing.
So finally, Natalie, why on Tuesdays should someone vote for Natalie Halverson?
Well, thanks for asking that question. Again, I've spent 27 years living, working, volunteering, personally investing to make a positive difference in Faribault. I've built numerous trusted relationships across many organizations in the community, and I've led a lot of projects, and that required bringing different people, priorities, resources together, working to find common ground and delivering results. I've been doing that for a long time, and I want to continue to have a greater impact and do that through City Council. I've worked for local government for over 12 years, so I understand what fiscal responsibility and being a good steward of public resources means and what it looks like. And I also bring a high level of professionalism and accountability to everything I'm involved in, and I'll bring that to City Council. And I think lastly, I would say I bring a community health lens to the work I'm involved in, and I think we've been missing that with City Council because the decisions they're making around housing, parks, public safety, our infrastructure, it all has an impact on our well-being. So I take that responsibility seriously, and I'd be grateful to have voters' support when they go to the polls.
All right.
Thanks for having me, Gordy.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. I certainly do appreciate it. Natalie Halverson, running for Faribault City Council. Lexi Temple the candidate for Faribault City Council, joins us. Lexi, I certainly appreciate your taking time out of your busy schedule to enlighten our listeners about your thoughts on the Faribault City Council race.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Gordy.
You bet. So tell me, why did you decide to run?
Yeah, I was inspired to run earlier this year. I attended one of the city council meetings where there was a vote to allocate funds for the housing eviction crisis going on in Faribault. And then it was not voted to use those funds for housing. And that was kind of a moment where I decided that I don't want to see a vote go that way again in Faribault. So I'd like to use my voice to represent the people and make sure basic needs are getting met for everyone.
So in other words, that issue lit a burr in your saddle.
Absolutely, yep.
And that's the only reason you decided to run?
That was the initial spark, I suppose. Another fuel that adds to the flame, you could say, is the data centers, of course, a major issue that everyone is very concerned about. It's another thing that I'd like to be a voice for the people of Faribault to really represent the majority of people's concerns and what we're all going through.
Yeah, virtually all the candidates have been talking about that. Another issue that is near and dear to a lot of people's hearts is the community center. There's talk about revamping what we presently have and enlarging it as opposed to building brand new. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's definitely something I'd like to learn more about. I think anything that can foster community and provide free or low-charge options for people in Faribault to engage with each other is ideal. So I'd be very supportive of whatever can best support that.
Have you ever been involved in any government before? Were you involved in student government in school, for example?
Yeah, I was student council president in high school, but that's the last time I've had any involvement in the political world. So pretty new to me, so it's an exciting field to be stepping into.
Yeah. What are your memories of the high school experience?
I was pretty low involvement, a lot of teamwork, a lot of working together with all the different people on the council, a lot of group effort. Not quite as major decisions being made, though.
I think you've already outlined, your passion for a couple of issues. If I were to ask what your top 3 priorities are, what would they be?
Yeah, I'd say number 1 is for sure affordable living. I know that I myself am feeling a lot of financial strain. I'm seeing my peers go through the same thing. So just trying to be involved in every decision being made to help foster more affordable living for everyone in Faribault. And then, as already mentioned, the data centers, but I would extend that to concerns for big tech. So any surveillance system, the data centers, these types of things that citizens are concerned about for safety, privacy, health, environment, would be another major issue I'm interested in. And then I do have a background in healthcare, so prioritizing access to healthcare, whether that's through affordability or different services that help make it more accessible, whether it's physical accessibility, translators, different things like that.
Yeah, we could lose our hospital.
Exactly, yeah. I did go to that meeting with the Attorney General, so that was interesting to hear a lot of people talk about that.
You think it's a possibility?
It sounds like it's definitely on the table. I'm very hopeful that all these voices were heard and the concerns about this merger were heard, so it can really be prioritized to ensure that patients come first.
Are you satisfied with the police and fire services in this community?
That's also something I'd have to learn more about to tell you more of a strong opinion. I personally haven't experienced anything specific. That's something I'd love to hear more about the community from as well.
So is there something you'd like to bring up that I didn't bring up, Lexi?
Sure, yeah. I think just in general, I've already alluded to this a little bit, but I'm super interested in representing the everyday person of Faribault. I think that I have a lot of strengths in my history in terms of learning new things, developing new skills, and genuinely listening to what people have to say. So I'm excited to at least go through this campaigning process, get to learn more about how it works, and then if I'm fortunate enough to be a voice for the people of Faribault, that would be a true honor.
You've been knocking on any doors?
Not yet. That's my plan after primaries. If I make it through, then that's the next step.
But if you don't get through the primary, then you're not going to be able to knock on doors.
That is correct.
I guess I asked all the others to conclude with this, so I'll ask you as well. Why should people vote for Lexi Temple?
Sure, yeah. I think that I'm born and raised in Faribault, and then I did move away for a bit and then moved back home recently. So having that perspective of being born and raised here, but then moving out and then coming back, I feel like my appreciation for Faribault has really deepened, and I've taken ownership of it through my journey back home. So I think that I make every decision in my personal life and professional life based on the values that I have. So people should vote for me if they believe in my values and want to have those values represented on City Council.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Lexi. I appreciate it very much.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time too, Gordy.
Yeah, Lexi Temple running for Faribault City Council. All right, those two individuals, we have had a chance to hear what they had to say. Again, in studio are Thelma Estrada, and also I have Jacob Reed with me in studio today. Thelma, I know every council member has brought up this issue, and it is a big issue in Faribault because there's been a lawsuit dealing with the data center. What are your thoughts on data centers?
My thoughts in reference to the data center is I'm opposed for it to be built here in the city. I feel that we need to have more, not to rush in making a decision on this. I feel that it was rushed and they made a decision without really realizing and looking at all the information that was provided to the city councils, and unfortunately didn't provide that information to our city members that live here, and they were not being transparent. So I feel that we need to hold off on that and do some more research studies around our cities that have had approved the data center. I've heard that Lakeville just approved it. And I feel that we shouldn't do it at all and just hold off and be transparent when it comes to that subject in the table, to bring it up to the city council, to provide being transparent to everybody about that topic.
How about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, this was the big one for me. I'm if you've signed the physical petition that's going around, I made it. I'm just going to say I'm against it. Not just for the data center, but also from who it's coming from, without being too blunt about it. This is a significant. The more research I've done, the more I've just considered to say it's just not necessary for our community. These things will put a limitation on our resources. It's not going to help us expand in any way other than tax revenue. That to me is not enough of a go-ahead for it. State legislature doesn't give cities enough protections for these. The city government's running into an issue where, if you notice, a lot of the cities that are saying no to these things are getting sued. The people who are running these corporations and companies, developers, are generally worth more than entire cities. And in this case, I think that is very much the case. So I think we need to do it in a tactful way. The petition that's going around is to put a 1-year moratorium on this data center for the entire city before we can issue any kind of permit for building, or even a conditional use permit, not allowed. During that time, our city government, it has to collect all of the environmental and economic impacts to our city and display those through 2 public hearing sessions to the city. So whether I get in or not, I'm going to be doing that. If you don't see it accepted by your city council government, it will be up for a ballot measure. So that's kind of the goal here. I will just strengthen, you don't have to run for city council. This is one thing I learned wonderfully as part of the data center topic, but you don't need to run to see the change you want to make. Our city charter allows us to put through initiatives, referendums, and recalls through a vote if you collect the necessary signatures. If you have questions on that, you can reach out to me Or if you have questions on the data center. I've moved my conversations with the data centers in our area, as well as Northfield and other local communities like Farmington, up to the state legislature at this point. I don't think that they've done enough to make sure that we're insulated. We need ratepayer protections. We need water protections. We need things like decommissioning bonds that should be set up, because there's a very good chance that we will get left with a kind of giant pile of electronic waste in the near future because of how rapidly this technology advances. So not to take up too much of the time here, but yeah, against it, but also need to make sure we do something tactfully about it because of the real life issue of getting sued because of saying no. I mean, looking at Inver Grove Heights, they have a potential $150 million lawsuit against them for saying no. So that's very concerning to me as well. So I think we need to do it the right way, but also make sure that we are very strict with how we can say these could ever be allowed.
So do you believe that the moratorium is the right way?
I think that's a start, right? I mean, I will say I'm not an attorney, but I think if someone told me I couldn't build in a community for 1 year until I provided the necessary information, that's not us saying anything more than someone trying to build a garage addition. That's something our city already requires. If they want to say that puts a limitation on their potential revenue or profits that they could have made by starting the construction, I find that a hard argument to make from a legal standpoint, simply because you actually haven't started the construction at this point, right? The only limitation we're putting on you is you providing the necessary information that we need to ensure that our infrastructure can handle what you're building.
Thelma, you have any thoughts on what you just heard?
No, I mean, I believe the same way he's thinking as far as all that information he just mentioned to us. There is, we should just hold off and not rush into it, because there are going to be consequences, and people are not seeing those consequences. They're just seeing the money that they feel that they're going to be pocketing or benefiting of it.
Yep, some communities have done that already. Yeah.
Well, look at Texas. I mean, Governor Abbott of Texas. That's a red state, right? If you want to talk politics,
Yeah.
He just put construction on complete hold for the foreseeable future because the ones that they already have there aren't reporting the correct information to the state. That's a concern, and you're seeing that all over the country where they're not playing by the rules even after they're told they need to. So I do think governments need to step up and do a little bit more.
City Council appears to be leaning toward a new community center at the present location, expanding what we currently have as opposed to building brand new on the north end of the community, keeping it where it's at. What are your thoughts on that, Thelma?
In reference to the Community Action Center, is that the one you're referring to?
The community center down here, the recreation center next to the Buckham West and library.
My thoughts on that are, if there's no need to spend any more taxpayers' money just to build another building and utilize that building and just do additions to it, or upgrades, that would be beneficial. We can have the pros and cons set up in the council and see like how much are we earning versus budgeting, basically budgeting. I mean, we're not in a time where we have free money or getting free money. We're all struggling. So I think we need to be very, very careful with our budgeting and investing wisely on that.
Your thoughts, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have the exact same thoughts on it. I mean, my major concern is I think the last bid for it was something like, if they were going to do a new one, it was like 60 million, something along those lines. I think to do the updates, it was still several million. I mean, it's at a rate that's, I think, significantly higher than our annual budget. I think it's 12.5, something like that for the city. That's pretty concerning to think, hey, we're going to spend all this money. I know you and I were just talking before we started this. We're looking at all the governments in Thelma too. We're looking at all the governments around us saying, hey, your property taxes need to go up, and not a little bit, pretty like 10+% in almost every community around us. I think governments need to start looking at how to not spend money. I love the idea of having these resources in our community. I don't think right now is the right time to put ourselves in a financially risky situation as a community. If there's opportunities for things like grants, things that we can get significant portions of our funding for these things back from the existing government taxes that we're already getting to the state, county, local, possibly. But if it's going to have any potential to increase taxes for people at a time where people are already seeing significant rises, I'm just kind of frankly against it. And I think that's almost across the board for any new kind of construction. Focus on base infrastructure until we get a kind of idea of what the foreseeable economy is going to be, not just for our city, but for the whole country.
Yeah.
Is there something I haven't brought up, Thelma, that you want to let people know that you are concerned about?
Just want them to go out there and vote and make their voice heard and go out there on August 11th to go vote. I feel everything. I mean, we can work together to help because we're all suffering right now.
You have other priorities, Jacob?
Well, quite a few. I mean, the one that's popped up quite a bit frequently, and I think it's, again, we're seeing it all over the country, is we have wonderful license plate reader cameras that have been put around our community. Pretty big topic, pretty big concern from a kind of liberty perspective, I guess you could say. I understand the use case for them. I talked to the police chief on them actually a bit, and they've solved crimes that they might not have been able to solve without them. But I think we do have to look at it from, a larger perspective. There's over 100,000 of these in our country now. So in your ability to leave our town without being captured by one is almost impossible. At what point do we want to say it's too much? I mean, I just use the analogy. If the government wanted to buy 350 million drones tomorrow to watch every single one of us when we went out into public space, why wouldn't we be okay with that then? That would stop crime. But is it too much? That's obviously a little hyperbolic, but the cameras are a concern for me, especially because the database they're held on is for a private company who, frankly, has already stated if you have concerns about them and if you're tracking them, then you're a terrorist. Their CEO said that. So I have some concerns when someone who's tracking my movements calls me a terrorist for tracking their movements. So it's just something to kind of call out.
Can you give me your top 3 priorities, Thelma?
Top 2 priorities. First one would be helping the businesses that we have right now, assist them with any help they need to.
Are we talking monetary assistance or what kind of assistance?
First of all, reaching out to them, what are their needs right now with this tough economy? Attract new businesses so we can generate more profit to the city. Also affordable housing, how we can work together. I know we're all struggling even with the taxes for property owners, how we can help the residents to assist while not raising too much of taxes, and also have affordable rent. I currently rent myself too, so I've faced those changes and struggles over the courses of the years. Then other one would be my priority was come up with something in regards to the data center. That's one thing. Come up with how we can push that out of our cities, but without having any punishments for saying no.
We may have already touched on your top 3 priorities, Jacob, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think, right, the data center, the flock cameras, I think those are some things I can say are hopefully not long timeline issues. I think the real issues are kind of what Thelma mentioned. Affordability is something huge, not just from a perspective of housing, but also just from a perspective of is our city providing the things we need on a regular basis? And at our current tax rates for our local area, even this town used to be, and still is for many people, kind of the starter town. If you want to build a family, if you want an affordable house, it still is that compared to other neighboring towns. But even in this community, things are getting expensive. We're seeing kind of constant tax rate hikes. We're seeing the housing market not really settle down all too much, which makes it a little bit difficult for someone who's just getting out of college or just kind of starting a career to afford a house. And I think we can do that in a few ways. I know, like Rice County, the county themselves, I'm sure we pitch in quite a bit of our tax money towards it, has things like down payment assistance programs that they can provide to individuals. I think making sure that we're working with them very closely to make sure that people who are coming to our community are getting their fair share of that money is extremely important, because that's a big hurdle for individuals to get into the house, is not so much the monthly payment, but it's that initial down payment. That's huge. Along with that, I think you can really look at kind of everything else that's going into the community and say, what are we spending our money on today, right? And we have a lot of projects going on. I know there's a big goal for a big change by 2040. And to me, I think we need to really look at our long-term plans as a community and say, is this actually meeting the needs of the people and the world that we live in today? And I don't think that might be the case in every situation. There's long-term goals are great. I think having a game plan is good, but I think adapting to the current economy for individuals who live here is even more important. So we don't push people out of their homes through things like increased taxation. That's a concern across the board. So really looking at our spending limitations and saying maybe we can just cut back a little bit.
Is Cameron Gustafson running for Faribault City Council? There are 3 seats up for election. They're going to pare the 10 candidates down to 6 following Tuesday's primary election. So these are very, very important interviews, and I'm glad that all 10 of them agreed to join us so that you get a sense of what their values are, what their priorities are, and you are somewhat, anyway, of an informed voter when you head to the booth on Tuesday. And after you do that ballot casting, you want to know how your vote was counted, you know where to tune. KDHL will have the results on Tuesday night. That's the hope, the dream, the desire. We've been doing this for a number of years, so I think we have it down pretty much to a science. Cameron, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coordinating all these interviews.
So why did you decide to run for Faribault City Council?
So I am a Faribault native, and I had been searching around for a while on how to get further involved with the community and make a positive impact. Once I started hearing about the seats for City Council and the 3 coming up, I figured that was my opportunity to get involved.
There was no specific burning issue.
There are a few issues that are hot topics right now, but it was more on just serving the community overall versus specific, issues that are at the top of everybody's minds right now. These kind of started popping up after the opportunity became available.
Sure. Can you tell me what your top 3 priorities are?
Yeah. So, the number one thing on a lot of people's minds is, of course, the data center. My thoughts on that are it's kind of a little too fast without enough information for sure. I don't think it's in our best interest as a community to, risk our health and natural resources for a data center. So we'll have to see how that unfolds. But my hope is that we can pivot and avoid the whole scenario. Kind of another initiative would be our housing situation. We have a lot of housing within Faribault that, are aging and older homes. So I would love to look into different housing maintenance and new home buyer programs to see how we can provide more opportunities for residents to build wealth through home ownership. And I'd also like to, look into removing unnecessary barriers for local entrepreneurs and businesses. I believe that there's different opportunities to streamline some city plans and ordinances to kind of make that process easier for those wanting to take that route and, open a business in town.
Have you ever held a public office before?
I have not. This is all a new experience for me. I have not been into politics. I have not been into, public offices. So this is kind of a learning and a leap of faith for me.
Not even in high school? You were in school government or anything?
I wasn't in school government. No, I'm the president of my bowling association. I don't know if that counts, but but as far as offices and that kind of stuff, nope, this is all new.
Interesting. The community center has been brought up, and of course there were thoughts about building a brand new community center. I think the current council has leaned away from that and leaned more toward revamping, remodeling, and expanding the present facility. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that is a great idea versus starting new. I think that kind of a modernized center in the current location, not only allows for more programming, but also kind of, will be able to support more local organizations, hopefully attract some regional activity and enhance our downtown area. It'd be a good thing to see potentially attracting new businesses, employers, and even more residents to our community.
Anything that I did not think of here that I should have asked you, Cameron?
I don't think so. I think that I'd just like to say, to all the voters out there that, ask to do the due diligence in researching all of your options for city council. Obviously, vote for whomever resonates with you the most. And just keep in mind, that I don't have a political agenda. I believe in honest and transparent communication, collaboration, and accountability. So if those qualities resonate with you as a voter, then, vote for me.
Are you happy with our police and fire services?
I think that as a city, we're very fortunate to have the dedicated police officers, firefighters, and responders that we do. I know they're all facing, growing demands and staffing challenges and our ever-evolving community expectations. But I think they're doing a great job emphasizing transparency and accountability in their departments. And I am a big fan of the safety camp and safe summer kickoff events and the fire department's open house. I think they're smart ways to get the community engaged and focus on prevention and not just having to provide emergency response.
Right. They're talking, about a possible new fire hall, too, coming down the road here.
I have heard some about that, but I don't know a lot of the details. But I think, as a community, whatever we can do to support them and make sure that they have the resources and staffing and all the things they need to effectively serve our city, that's what we need to do for them. So,
some of the other council candidates have brought up taxes being high. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that taxes are creeping up as every expense today is. I'm hoping that we can focus on new initiatives and ways to expand our tax base and kind of alleviate some of those pain points for the current residents in town. So hoping to kind of stop that trend and reverse it if possible to, get growing our tax base.
You had one suggestion. If you get elected to the city council, what would the suggestion be?
I think you mean just a suggestion as a
something that you'd like to see happen here in the city of Faribault. I know you mentioned some of your priorities, but
yeah, I would just like to see overall community engagement. I think there's a lot of opportunity for residents and councilors to work more closely, communicate with one another. Enhance transparency so that those are, more informed as to what is going on. So anything that is around those, aspects, that's what I would really love to see.
All right. Hey, thank you. I certainly do appreciate it, Cameron. You have yourself a great evening.
Yes, thank you so much for providing the opportunity to talk. Appreciate it.
Cameron Gustafson running for Faribault City Council. Now we're going to round out the show here in studio. We have with us not only Jacob Reed, but also we have with us Thelma Estrada. They're both sitting to my left here in the KDHL studio on Central Avenue in downtown Faribault. I'm sure they would like to join me in encouraging you to get out and vote on Tuesday. Your voice we need to hear. You will be paring the 10 candidates currently running down to 6, and then those 6 will move on to the general election in November. And then those 6 will be moved down to 3, and 3 people will be on the Faribault City Council. 2 of them, at minimum, will be brand new members. There could be 3 new members, but only 1 incumbent is running for re-election this time around. As we round out the show, I guess all ladies are before gentlemen, right, normally?
I believe so.
Aren't ladies before gentlemen? Even in this case?
Yes, that's correct. Well, just want to wrap it up, guys. My name's Thelma Estrada, and just go out there and vote. I will run out there. If you see me, stop by, say hi.
Thelma's wearing a Thelma Estrada for City Council shirt.
Yes, I am. So, I can't promise you I'm going to change every single issue we're facing right now, but I can promise you I can be that strong voice to not be afraid and raise my voice to say no when it's necessary and make right decisions together, not by myself. So go out there and vote. Just vote. Go out there, guys.
Yeah. So are you pleased with our current police and fire services in the community?
I am. I do feel I am pleased with their service. Everything. I mean, what can I say? I am very thankful. I feel safe with them, and I mean, I feel safe here because of them. I feel that they're doing a phenomenal job. If there's any way we can better, or they need more funding or training or whatnot, I'm here to also hear them out and bring that to the table and help as much as we can for any funding they need for them to provide us the service they do every day, every night.
Do you feel safer than you did in Northfield?
I feel safe both in either town. They're very good, nice communities. They have a very nice police team and fire department. They do. Both cities have a phenomenal team. Like I said, I feel safe.
How about you, Jacob? Do you like our police and fire services here in the community?
Yeah, actually. I mean, like I said, our police chief is amazing. He's pretty phenomenal. I do have some concerns he might retire in the near future. So then we're up for another new opportunity, right? I mean, I just think we need to make sure we get the right candidates in for that if he does decide to make that decision. But I mean, I grew up in town here. I made mistakes when I was a kid, right? But I got caught doing them, and I think that's a good thing because it shows that they're doing their job, right? But, but no, I mean, it's a safe community. There's issues like I do look at our town. I'm like, we have crime here, but every town has crime. I think we're doing a really good job at controlling it. I think that them along with our fire chief, he was just at the meeting a few weeks ago talking about how he didn't want to take extra funding for more things for a new building because he thinks that they can manage it correctly out of the existing one with just some upgrades. That's awesome. He's not just thinking about the fire chief job. He's thinking about the budget in a way that saves people money while knowing that he does need to expand his services because we need a little more help with the fire department in town, right? If we have a massive fire, he's prepping us to make sure that we can get ready for it. So I think that's the kind of leadership we need in those offices, right? Is people who aren't just thinking about accepting more money, but also doing it in a way that's researched. He literally showed the maps of what he currently covers, what it would look like if we had an additional station and what it would look like if we stayed at one and just upgraded. And he went with the one and upgraded because the research he had said it was the most beneficial to the community. That's awesome. I think that's what we need to see across the board, right? When it comes to those kind of services, just city services in general. And that shows a lot of leadership to me. And again, I feel safe here. It's a pretty great community to live in. You can walk around and feel just fine. And you hear about a fight or something because it is such a big deal because they don't happen as often because we have great policing and the fires get put out quick because we have great fire services.
So it sounds like you visited with some of the department heads here in the community.
Just attending the existing city council meetings. They give their presentations there. I like to sit in and listen. And if I can't show up, I'll listen to the recording. But it's important to me whether I'm in an office or not, right? I think everyone should do that. They should be aware of where their money's going and who's leading their community, and they should pay attention.
Are our taxes too high in Faribault, Thelma?
Yes, they are. They're getting they're not as extremely high as other surrounded cities, but it sounds like they're opting to raise them, and I feel that we need to have some control over that. Because right now we're not in a situation where we can be raising left and right taxes just for misbudgeting, misspending our money that we have to better our community.
What do you think, Jacob?
I think, I'm not a big fan of taxes, period. I think it's a combination of multiple things. And Thelma, I think you mentioned this a little bit during the break, but it's not just the taxes, it's the gas prices, it's the grocery price, it's everything adding up at once. And that's happening at a time where our state government, county, city are all saying, hey, we might need a little bit more from you.
Well, because their gas prices are going
exactly. Up. So it's like, we see that, and that's where we have to say it might not be so much just the taxes being increased, but also where the money's going to, and do we need those things, right? So I think it's more of a spending thing than just a tax thing. It's how we can cut back from the spending to say, can we then give some of that back to the people and move in that direction? It's definitely a complicated issue. I think it's everything at once, not just one thing. If our taxes were going higher but everything else was cheap, then people might not be as concerned as they are right now.
Thelma mentioned earlier why people should vote for her. Why should people vote for you, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I'm involved. You might not see me everywhere, but if you see me somewhere, I'm probably talking to you about some of the issues that are happening here. I show up to almost every council meeting or planning city mission or meeting, or I am watching them, learning about them, seeing where our money's going, looking at where we're putting our tax abatements and our TIFs, our financial tools towards businesses. I look at not just our local area, but the areas around us. And I also look at state legislature and actually just kind of directly call them out and meet with them when I'm saying things that aren't changing. So I get involved, and I can be kind of annoying with it sometimes, but it's because I want to make sure that we're doing things the right way, not just looking to keep things at a status quo.
Are you looking to advance in politics?
No. I didn't want to do, frankly, I didn't want to do this initially. I never really wanted to be in politics. I grew up with a father who was the head of a union who had to run for a re-election every 4 years, and it sucked. But I also want to make sure that the things that are changing around me in the community that I grew up in aren't changing in a way that's going to be detrimental. So I don't really want to move forward. The reason I meet with our state legislature is frankly to say, hey, you need to do things because they're going to impact my community, and using my voice and whatever voice I have to do that. So no, I don't really want to move up past this. At the Rice County Fair, my data center booth was between the Republican and Democratic Party tables. And they both approached me and said, hey, would you like an endorsement? And I'm just like, no, because I don't not only want to not be affiliated with parties, but I don't want to keep moving forward with this. This is what I want to do, because I frankly want to spend the rest of my time with my family and working my job. So I can just do that and work on my city and just be me.
Is this a stepping stone for Thelma?
I hope so. I really do. Like I said, I did run previously 2 years ago in Northfield. I thought I wasn't, but the reason I'm here again is my daughter. I have a 12-year-old at home. She's the one. They knocked on my door and said, Thelma, let's run. And I said, okay, let me think about it, talk to my daughter. She's always pushed me to do something like this, either in school board or city. She's like, go out there, don't be afraid, go make a change, Mom. So she's my motivation, and that's why I'm here, facing all the odds, and hopefully still learn from this and come back at it if I need to at some whatever level.
Well, thanks to both of you for coming in tonight. I know you could be doing something else on a Friday night. Appreciate it very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for taking your time to hosting this for us, too, because it's also taking away from your Friday night, too.
That's quite all right.
Thank you.
I just love having all the candidates on. We've had all 10 of them on, 5 on Wednesday, 5 on Friday night. And again, recordings of these will be up under the AM Minnesota tab at kdhlradio.com. Let your friends and neighbors know. If you only got a segment of this, didn't get a chance to hear the whole program, I'll have it up before the end of the night, tonight's, and Wednesday's is already up under the AM Minnesota tab at kdhlradio.com.